That's what keeps getting fed to you.
I feel the passion in what you're saying. It scares me because the way you talk is exactly what CNN talks. I'm sorry,
No, but I don't like
you.
CNN.
I'm just saying
You
though,
know
but
I don't like
the
CNN.
point what I'm trying to say is CNN will give excuses.
I'm
I'm
not making
tired. You
excuses.
are. You are.
No, no, no,
You're
no,
basically
no.
saying there's a difference between being in control or letting your situation control you. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you say that, you are in control of what you know, and you know these things, but you are controlling it because of your actions. Yes, you know that you're disadvantaged, but you still own a house, Jai. Yes, you're
No, but that's the difference.
okay.
I know, but a lot of people, especially in the US, don't know.
I argue, I think
I'll
that's
tell you,
cap. I think that's cap.
I'll tell you why they don't know.
Sure.
I know because my uncle's a doctor. My other uncle is an engineer. So I know what a good citizen looks like. But if you have a situation where you don't have a role model or you don't see anything positive around you, how do you know what's good versus what's bad?
I know it sounds silly, but we all know what really is good and what's bad.
It's not
I
that
think
easy,
it's
Kevin.
I think it is, and here's
It,
why.
okay.
Here's why. Knowledge is in all over the place. Knowledge is free and available now. Years ago, before the internet, I could if we didn't have the internet, I think I can partially agree with what you're saying because you had to take initiative. Information is so freely available now. There's no excuse. And I think the reality is that what is going against people is how ratchetness is the first thing that shows up on your feeds.
But
You'll
that's because
never.
of the algorithm,
You're right.
Kevin. Yeah.
But
So,
what I'm just trying to say though is if you can look past the algorithm before the programming, let's call it programming, keep it simple. The programming was all you could see. You couldn't get past the veil. The Oz, or what's it called, the curtain, man behind the curtain, was not attainable. Now you know the man behind the curtain. The trick is they're going to put all these different distractions in front of you to not look behind the curtain. So before, you couldn't even access the curtain. Now you can, but then you have a lot of these ads, this, distraction, this. It's in front of you, but you can go around the curtain now. You just have to resist from looking at your feed, look at the top of the screen, and just do a
Kev,
search.
it's easy for you and I to go through these things and say it.
What are you
And
talking
now,
about? The
no, no,
internet
no,
is
because
free.
yes, the internet is
YouTube
free.
is free,
YouTube
brother.
is free. But
This is free information.
I'm not
I'm
trying to
sorry.
I know, I'm not trying to make excuses, but do you know there's such a thing as being, and of course, we can fact check this, but your diet has a lot to do with how you develop, how your brain develops too, from when you're younger. So if you're eating unhealthy stuff, for example, I don't know that your brain would function. Or if you're around stuff that's unhealthy, I don't know that your brain would develop to the point where you can ascend to make proper decisions. Like people having guns by the age of 8, 9, 10, and that's all they know, gang banging. They're out in the streets, they're not eating well, they're not sleeping right. It does something to the brain where they don't develop those skills to make you make those distinctions as to what's good and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil. Information is in front of them. What information is getting to them? There's an algorithm in that, in YouTube and all these TikTok videos and all that stuff. Depending on what you say or what you watch or what your interests are, that's what keeps getting fed to you.
I feel the passion in what you're saying. It scares me because the way you talk is exactly what CNN talks. I'm sorry,
No, but I
the
don't
way
like
you
CNN.
I'm just saying
You
though,
know
but
I don't like
the
CNN.
point what I'm trying to say is CNN will give excuses.
I'm
I'm
not making
tired.
excuses.
You are.
No, no, no,
You're
no,
basically
no.
saying, "Hey, look, at the end of the day, these people are so impoverished that they can't even afford to have a TV that has different channels other than raping and killing channels." I'm just saying that's what you're saying.
But is that a lie?
It's not a lie, but what
So,
I'm trying to say though is that's no different than the Chinese kid that grew up in China that had nothing. They're under an authoritarian regime. They studied their
but they have
butt.
structure.
Thank you. But what I'm trying to say is every culture has structure. It depends
Mhm.
on what you focus on. Our community chooses to focus on Jay-Z and P. Diddy.
I
That's the
know that, but
problem.
that's wrong. I'm not
But
saying
the
what
point, what
I'm
I'm
just talking
trying,
about what is.
it's almost like you're saying you either had a silver spoon in your mouth or you ate dirt. And there's a lot of things in between, brother. Not every person has been, Chicago does not represent all of people.
No, it
So what
doesn't.
I'm just trying to say is the reason why I say you're acting like CNN is that's what CNN will do. They'll want you to stay as the worst case scenario to keep us mentally locked in to what we don't have and keep ourselves upset, as opposed to thinking, what do we have? And to validate and be happy with what we have and try to work with what we have
No, but
and
if
grow and build
no,
with
but
what we
I'm
have.
not saying this because I think we should be happy with what we have. I'm saying this because I think that we should understand that there is a problem.
What you're saying also, there's a lot of people that want to play the victim. You're validating.
No, I'm
Yeah,
not.
you are.
No,
You
there's a
are.
difference. There's a difference.
Okay.
I'm just identifying what is, and I think it's high time that we understand this is where the problem is. We need to get out of the funk and think about how we need to improve ourselves. The root cause is the fact that these kids don't have an idea of how to get better. We need to educate them, to teach them. We need to make policies, have policies in place that will get these kids out of that environment so that they know that there's something out there for them.
I think the problem is the root cause is something that no one really wants to deal with. And the root cause is that we have no religion, we have no culture, and the closest thing we have is basically a issue. We have hip hop. There's no organization. It's all in the media. You try going to a mosque. There's organization. You can get loans. They have people that will help you with your finances if you can't afford an accountant. That's a community. We have none of that. It's
Because
part of
once
the root
you, yeah,
cause.
because once you know what the root cause is, economically, we're not buoyant. We're not at an advantage in
You're
any way,
right.
shape, or form.
But this is where it's difficult. Our we have been every time we try to create a community, it's been destroyed. And generational pain, I recognize that. And nobody is doing it because it's always been destroyed.
So now you're coming back to what I'm saying. So now that you know the root cause, because every time we try to do something to better those things, there's they get screwed over. Don't you think that perpetually leaves you in the place that you are?
I really believe the only way forward, not the only way, there's other ways, but the way forward that I see that's feasible is just learning to empower and be better for your own generation. For example, my kids, I'm setting up financial stuff for them, not for their kid, not for my kids, but for their kids. I'm teaching them how to not rely on the banking system. And then they're going to teach their kids not to rely on the banking system and so on and so forth. And the second you start realizing that these systems are not actually helping you, they're hurting you, that's a piece of the puzzle. That's what every community has done. Jewish people had to do it, Asians had to do it. They all got locked out of the system too. The difference is that we don't have a cohesion. And so what we got to do is we got to do it independently. So we got to take advantage of the fact that all these institutional type ways to save money are open to everyone, including us, and we need to just go on that route. So it's a distributed way.
That's where
And
knowledge
so
and economic power comes in. Knowledge is key because you have to know about something to search for it. If I don't know what to search on YouTube, I'll be lost.
I said it earlier, you know what's inherently good and bad. The trick though is, like I said, they have all these distractions in front of you, and it's easy to get distracted. Sometimes it's hard for me to be a self starter, but you have to learn to be a self
I'm
starter.
going to ask you a question. I
Sure.
hate to cut you short. Of all the friends that you grew up with, how many of them would you say were able to bypass the environment that they grew up in and become successful? Of all the guys that you grew up with in your neighborhood that you went to school with, if you had to count, let's just say on a ratio of 1 to 10.
I mean,
Between
it depends. If you're talking about who has my net worth as much as me, because there's different net worths.
yeah,
Some
yeah,
people
okay,
have,
okay, let's just say your net worth,
okay,
percentage wise.
I would say, what is my net worth? I don't even know.
No, let's
But okay, like number of houses. I have 3 houses.
okay, but so how
My
many?
boy has one house now.
Okay.
And then I didn't grow up with you, but So yeah, if I had to say who else has multiple homes, maybe one or two.
Out of how many?
Say 10.
That's what I'm saying. Is in general, if you look at these environments, including Malvern that you're talking about, which is not as bad as compared to the US,
It's not.
there's very few people who can self-start or can motivate themselves to get out of that mentality, that hood mentality, so to speak. Very rare.
And again, I truly argue
Very
no.
rare.
I truly, and here's
Okay.
what here's why, brother. You see the little babies, you see the Roddy Rich, they look so gangster, but the bottom line is they had to go into a boardroom. They had to go into a boardroom, they had to sign a contract, they had to put the hood crap aside and be presentable because they needed money. And when they got the money, they go on back on camera and they act all hood. And it sells. And so my argument is, this is why I'm pushing back on you. I think it's cap. I think the people that pretend and act like they're so hard that they don't know how to even just compose themselves in a classroom and this and that, I don't buy that at all. If they go to court, they're gonna put on that damn suit.
It's interesting that you say that.
If they don't want to get 13 years, the difference between 2 years and 13 years, they're gonna wear that damn suit.
You know why they wear that damn suit? Because they're told to, and they're taught to do that. At that point, they're coached. That's the difference between you growing up in an environment and nice spilling waters. Oh, this guy, man. That's to show you that you're wrong. Like, the fact that you're dripping water, that's to show you that you're wrong in this argument. But anyways, I still think that root cause has not been addressed with these kids growing up, those environments. So the knowledge of knowing what to do is not yet been given to them. So all they know is their environment.
I don't know if we caught it, but I said I do most of the post production. Everyone knows of it. But if the video sucks, it's my fault. The
Yes.
comments suck, it's his fault.
No.
But I just asked you, I said, hey, why don't we switch roles? And you're like, hell no, because it's a lot more work.
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to say, Jai, is you see how quickly you respond? My point, what I'm trying to say is I go back to my hood. As soon as they see I did computer science, oh, you're different. That's my problem. We are too lazy, and it's in the fabric of who our culture is, and I think it's disappointing. I'm not trying to diss you, but I want this to be a teaching learning from anybody else. If someone gives you an opportunity, this is for younger, you're good. You're already making money, so you're rich, so you're good. But if someone gives you an opportunity, take the opportunity. Don't run away from it. You don't know what God has in store for you. For all you know, maybe that is what God needed you to do at that moment. Don't just throw things away just because you think they're scary, because they're unknown. That's part and parcel of our problem in our culture. We need to be able to fail and make mistakes and do things wrong, and we don't do that enough. So I'm not denying, Jai, what you're saying, but I think it's rot, and it's like a rotting thing in our culture. We need to be willing to make mistakes, learn things that are new, learn things that are scary. We don't do that, and our culture does not cultivate it. Other cultures do. Do they do it right? I don't think so. We see the Indian man killing his daughter and all this. So they're definitely not doing it well, but the point of the matter is it's better than the alternative, which is what we're doing. There's no cohesion. That's the only reason why I think a lot of people don't want to hang around with black folks in terms of a marriage. There's nothing being added to that union from a familial standpoint.
You mean financial standpoint?
Financial and familial.
Economic standpoint?
Yeah. So if somebody gives you an opportunity, try it. Don't just run away from it. I really urge you, whether it's anything, trades, computers, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to my point, I'll finish off with this. As long as we continue to provide them or drive that information out there, that the alternative is not just being a doctor, lawyer, engineer, trades. There's other things that you can learn. There's going into stocks. There's so many things, but the knowledge isn't readily available. And the
That's where you're
important things,
wrong.
hold on.
It is available.
No, hold on. The other thing is this. There's not a lot of us who can give them that information that are like in trades, who've been able to get out, or who are willing to give that information back to them, to let them know, hey, by the way, if you do trades, I have a construction company that you can come work with. If you don't know how to get it, or if you don't have access to certain information, guess what? You're as good as useless because you don't know what exists.